Sociology is the study of society and social behaviour. Sociologists will often consider groups, cultures, organisations and processes that people develop and apply to the real world. So it makes sense when thinking about teams to think about your organisational culture and how it informs day-to-day working practices. I'm Matthew Adam and I'm a change management consultant with a special interest in helping teams perform at their best. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about team culture and how you can create a culture of innovation and desire to perform at your best. Let's start with what culture is. Culture is the ideas and social behaviour of a society. Culture is informed by a series of rules and norms. Culture is also informed by beliefs and values. Culture is essential to our social interactions. It shapes our relationships, it shapes our perspectives, it shapes our identities, and is fluid and shifting. Think about your workplace for a moment. Can you identify your team culture? Has it ever shifted or changed either for the better or for the worse? You might be wondering whether you know or not what your team culture is. So let's reflect on some questions to help you explore your team culture. How does your team get things done? Are things always done at the last minute? Is there always an expectation the results are produced immediately rather than a planned way? What is acceptable and what is not acceptable? Is it acceptable to be rude and inconsiderate to each other? Is it okay to procrastinate and delay decision making? Are there differences between saying and doing? This might also be taken to mean do as I say, not as I do. When a part of a team says one thing but yet does another, this can instill a way of interacting that can completely undermine the team performance as a whole, and it's very damaging. Have certain practices existed in your team before you or other team members joined? Have you ever said you thought, that's just the way we do things? This is part of your team's culture. In many cases, team culture can limit the potential of a team to excel if normally unacceptable behaviour is permitted, or if certain unhelpful working practices are accepted. So how can you introduce a culture of innovation? First, we need to consider some of the challenges to establishing a culture of innovation. Have you ever noticed how your work environment can change drastically when there are new leaders who join your team? I once worked with a team who were very close and functioned like a well-oiled machine until a new team manager joined the service. Within 6 months of the new team manager starting, the team became organised by an us and them mentality. The us were those staff who the team manager liked or who agreed with her actions. The them were all the other staff. Friction, tension and conflict very quickly began to define team working, and this had a ripple effect across the whole organisation. In the same way, organisational restructuring can change a team culture, and is often trust that is broken in these processes. Being able to trust your colleagues and your organisation is essential to perform at your best. When a team loses staff members, either to sickness or departure, a team's culture can be negatively impacted. Changes in political and global arenas can fundamentally change how organisations behave, and this can be displacing and impact how a team performs, especially if there is an impact on organisational targets and objectives. So what can you do about it? This team culture checklist can help you focus on what your team culture looks like in any moment in time. Identify your team rules and the norms that guide how your team behaves. Do all your team members trust each other implicitly and explicitly? This is about both the suggestion that you trust each other and the actions that leave you in no doubt this is the case. Is there space for new ideas? If new ideas are challenged, shot down, or rubbished from the start, your team culture may not support innovation. Are there gaps between saying and doing? So what's the best way to address changing team culture? Well, it has to be done by creating regular reflecting space. This requires commitment from all team members, including senior leaders. Use the reflecting space to connect with each other. Use the reflecting space to get to know each other and to talk openly and honestly. If you've never heard of the third space, it's the place between home and work and is often considered the place where a community connects, grows and flourishes. Use the reflecting space to discuss if you're working together. You might notice that you aren't working effectively together. If there are problems or underperformance concerns, think about what is impeding your progress. And use the reflecting space to identify if you are still having productive conversations. Take the time to review your team rules and change them if they promote unacceptable norms. If you notice that changes are required, identify preferred ways of acting and ensure that all team members are committed to them. Hold each other accountable for your actions and take an appreciative stance when challenges are made. If changes aren't easily adopted or rejected, take the time as a team to discuss why is this the case. Identifying solutions together and checking that they are achievable for everyone in the team is essential. Of course, changing team culture is far from easy and can often be slow, but ask yourself this: does it have to be? If you would like support, guidance or help introducing a culture of innovation and excellence into your organisation, please get in touch. Thanks for listening.